Do you want your makeup to look like a pro did it? What I like to call refined, or dare I say, expensive? Today's tutorial is all about achieving that structure, balance, and refinement, which I promise you can be achieved using both high and low end products. It's mostly about technique and what I like to call finishing the makeup, which are those extra steps that elevate it to the next level. By the way, I'm Jeannie. I'm a pro makeup artist. I live in Los Angeles. I work with celebrities, beauty brands, and everyone in between. Welcome to my channel. My brows are groomed and filled in. I love to build a makeup around the brows because they are the frameworks of the face. For details on what I used, you can check the description box below. I can also do an in-depth brow tutorial for you all, but if you check out any of my other tutorials, I do go pretty in-depth on brows. We're not using a ton of skincare today. If you want to do your typical routine, I invite you to do so, but I wanted to show you how to achieve a look like this with a great moisturizer. I'm using a new moisturizer to the channel today. It's been in my kit and I haven't reached for it for whatever reason. You know, sometimes you just go through phases, but I have it in my kit for a reason because it's great. It's the Bioderma Hydra Bio Cream. This is great for all skin types, but particularly dry and sensitive skin. And because I have drier skin, this is perfect to help hydrate. Just working it into the face, avoiding the brows because they're done. Every time I use this moisturizer, I always remember why I love it, because it's incredibly soothing and hydrating. Since I mentioned this makeup look is more about technique than it is what you're using, I plan on showing you both high and low end options. We're gonna let the face get a little happy and let that moisturizer soak in. In the meantime, we're gonna start with eyes. I'm gonna use this Revlon Color Stay Skin Awaken Concealer just to prep my eyelids. This is my favorite drugstore concealer at the moment. Actually, I think it's my favorite concealer at the moment. I love the finish and I love the coverage. Taking this Thrive Cosmetics brush and just buffing it all over the eyelid up to the brow bone. Again, just to color correct and prep the eyelid. Now, there isn't really a specific eye look that I would pair with this tutorial. I think it really depends on the shape of your eye, or for me, if I'm looking at a client, the shape of my client's eye and the kind of look that we're trying to achieve, whether we're going for a little bit more drama or if we're going for something a little bit more natural. What does matter is going back to those three keywords that I mentioned in the beginning: structure, balance, and refinement. And because I love it so much and I can't stop using it and it looks good on pretty much everybody, we're going to use the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. It's just a beautiful neutral palette with a collection of both matte and sparkly tones. Because I have deep set eyes, I'm not really a big fan of super smoky eye looks on myself. That's just a personal preference. So what I'm going to do is actually accentuate the shape of my eyes and concentrate more of the color on the outer third just to extend it and give it a little more elongation. So we're just going to take this color in the top right corner, knock it off, and what we're going to do is place it right here on the brow bone like this. It does need to be blended out. I just wanted to show you placement. And I'm sorry, that brush I was using is the Smith Cosmetics 230 brush, and now I'm using the Smith Cosmetics 237 to blend. Using circular motions, backwards and forwards. And what we're doing is creating that elongation that I was telling you about. Because like I said, if I concentrate everything on my eyelid, when my eye is open, you're not going to be able to see it. So what I like to do is move up the color so then you can see it. I hope that makes sense. Taking another Smith 230, we're going to go back into the palette, into the deeper brown. And we're just going to concentrate that color right there. Back in with our blending brush. Just softening everything. One of the keys to a great eye makeup look is making sure that everything is blended. As you can see, I have more of a concentration of color right around here, but it goes a little bit patchy right here. So I want to make sure that I take my blending brush and really buff all of that out. One of the keys to having your makeup look a little bit more elevated is everything is blended and seamless. If you feel like you're not getting that smoothness that you want, I would go back into a color that's very close to your skin tone and then just buff it right over any of those hard lines just to give you that softness. I'm using Teddy from MAC right now because it's a kohl, it's very soft and you can blend it and then sort of set it with eyeshadow, and I don't want any hard lines in this look. I'm just gonna take it probably on the outer third, like I said before, concentrating the color, and with my eye open, just going to extend it a bit, bring it in, and create a little wing that I'm going to blend out. Taking another Smith Cosmetics brush, it's very small. It's actually a lip brush, but I love using it for eye. It's the 304. I'm just going to soften this wing and blend it inwards. Also making sure that this edge here is very soft and blended into the lash line. And then opening the eye and checking to see about placement. I do need to add a little bit of shadow, but can you see the shape that I'm making? So we're going to take the same brush, the 304, with this darkest shadow, the darkest brown in the palette, And we're just gonna go over that wing, kind of blend it inwards. And then another thing I like to do is take more on the brush, and while my eye is open, feather that in like this, so you're creating that shadow. We're gonna clean up under here, don't worry. Taking the 230 brush that I use and just blending that inwards. I do need to clean this up a little bit, so I'm just going back in with a little bit of shadow. And to finish off this look, I'm just gonna take my ring finger and just tap it on the lid. One of the nice things about the shimmer is that it kind of marries everything together and just completes the eye look. I'm gonna curl my lashes. For mascara, I'm going to use a UK drugstore favorite. This is Max Factor. I know you can get this at Boots. I wish we could get Max Factor more readily in the United States, but unfortunately we can't. This is an amazing mascara, and it's drugstore. Another reason I decided to do eyes first is because I had a feeling there would be a little bit of fallout onto the skin, and I wanted to make sure I could clean everything up and create a nice crisp line with concealer. You'll notice that I didn't put anything on the lower lash line, and that's because I wanted to do concealer first, so then I can ensure that there won't be any gap between my lower lash line and the color that I placed there and the concealer. Taking a little bit of the Garnier Micellar water on a Q-tip, just gonna clean up underneath, picking up any product. And another thing I like to do to clean up that line is to just follow and create that shape. For foundation, I'm using one out of my kit because I know how it works and I know how it's going to look. It's the Dior Face and Body Foundation. My shade is 2N. Just have a little bit on the back of my hand, taking my Eco Tool sponge, and we're just gonna press it in. It doesn't really matter how you put the foundation on, whether you do it with a brush or a sponge. What matters is blending and how you finish. I don't normally only use a sponge for foundation just because I feel like you lose a lot of the product in the sponge. But today I'm just feeling like using it, so I'm just gonna go with my gut. What I do love about a sponge is that you can really push the product in. Also, a pro tip, if you're wearing your hair back, put foundation on your ears, so then they match your face. You wouldn't believe how red ears get. Also, down the neck. Foundation is blended, but as you can see, I do need a little bit more concealing, so that's what we're gonna do now. Taking the Revlon concealer again. And there's a reason I left that shape right there is we're gonna cut the concealer right underneath to give it that sharp line to make it look really clean. It's these little details that really matter, that help to elevate your makeup look. Come back in with the sponge. And the nice thing about this sponge is I can take this edge and just go right under the eye and extend that line. You can see I got a little bit of concealer in my eye makeup. I'm just gonna take my brush and fix that. Also, you can use your fingers. You need a little bit of help getting in those corners. Sometimes your fingers are the best tools. To set the under eye, I'm taking this Huda Beauty Pound Cake powder. I'm just gonna put some on my hand with my Real Techniques setting brush. Just gonna work some into the brush and just set the under eye. We're going to finish with another powder, but I want to make sure the under eye is set before I do anything on the lower lash line. And to give you a drugstore option for under eye, I'm going to use this CoverGirl Clean powder. The same brush, just sweep it under the eye. Going back in with the 304 brush, I'm going to take this shimmery color right here and just pop a little of the dark brown. And then we're just going to sweep it on the lower lash line. And then also just connect it to that extended eyeshadow right there to create cohesion. So this next step is key. This is what is going to give your skin that elevated kind of glow and that refinement that we're looking for. Now, if I was working in my pro kit, I would use this, which is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette on this Smith 112 brush. I'd take all three of the colors on my brush, buff them into the skin, and create this seamless sort of glow that just blends everything together and makes the skin look amazing. But I do have another option. It is from Sephora, full disclosure. I did go to the drugstore and I couldn't find anything. So any of you know of a product that's very similar to this, please drop it in the comments below because I would love to try it. I'm always looking for dupes, especially for recommendations for people who don't want to spend the money. That being said, I did go to Sephora and picked up the Skin Sculpt Skin Perfector from Makeup by Mario. I've heard so many great things about this, and just look at how beautiful it is. I have a feeling that when blended together, it's going to give me the same kind of look that the Hourglass Ambient Palette gives me, but maybe even better. We'll see. Just going to take my 112 brush and swirl it throughout the whole thing, knock some off, And then we're just gonna buff. The reason I'm doing this now and not after I do bronzer and blush is because I'm planning on using powder products and I don't want my face to be sticky or tacky, because when you put a powder on top of a wet surface, it's gonna stick and it's not gonna blend for you. I'd say that's pretty beautiful. My skin has like a glow and a sheen to the naked eye. I can definitely see it. For the record, I will say it really does matter when a professional makeup artist creates a line and puts a lot of love into it, because you can tell that Mario creates his products not only for consumers, but for pros as well. And as a pro, I very much appreciate it. Now we're going back in with the ambient lighting palette. I'm just gonna take this deeper shade right here and just do a little bit of bronzing and sculpting, very lightly. And when you think you haven't blended, keep blending. Blending is key. You don't want any hard lines. You want everything to be smooth and even. We're gonna use two blushes today. We're gonna start with the powder because, like I said, I already have powder on my face, and then we're gonna top it with a cream just to give it a little extra sheen. For powder, I'm using my favorite drugstore blush, which is the Maybelline Fit Me blush, and this is my favorite shade. It's called Plum. We're gonna take the 112 brush again. I told you it's my favorite. Just in the blush. And blush placement is really dependent on the person's face or what kind of look you're trying to achieve. For me, I like to place my blush a little bit higher and extend it up just to give me more of that snatched look, but it really is personal preference. The only thing I do say is you don't want to bring it too far in because you don't want to close up the face. It's another reason why I like to keep it high. Just using circular motions, all about that blending, the idea of seamlessness. And this blush is really soft and pretty forgiving. For cream blush, we're using the e.l.f. cream blush in Bora Bora. Just gonna take my brush and scrape a little bit off because I've noticed that this blush works best if you warm it up first. So I'm just taking it on the back of my hand and then using my finger just to spread it. And like I said, warm it up. We're gonna go back in with the Ego Tool sponge, taking this beautiful little rounded end into the blush. We're just gonna give it a little bit of oomph. And the sponge is wet too, that's key. Even though you could use a dry sponge, but I've noticed if I use it wet, it just makes it a little bit more sheeny and it helps it spread a little bit easier. So I want to soften the ends of this blush here. I'm going to go back in with the Mario. Take it all around the perimeter of where we placed that blush and that bronzer, maybe even a little up here. Also, for looks like this, I tend to go a little bit heavier with the blush because if you notice, blush tends to be the first thing that disappears off your face. When thinking about lips, one of the ways I think elevates it is by giving the lip structure, and I think the way to do that is with lip liner. This is Mauve from NYX. Same idea for the eyes. It doesn't really matter what color you do, but I want you to make sure that you're keeping those three keywords in mind: balance, refinement, and structure. For lipstick, it's Maybelline Rosy Risk. I also love their lipsticks. It's just this beautiful kind of muted pink. Another trick, you can take a nude lip liner. This is LA Colors Chocolate, and just line right underneath and then right at the Cupid's bow, just to give the illusion of a fuller lip. So here's the finished look. As you can see, taking those extra steps really does make a difference. I hope you were able to take some tips and tricks away from this tutorial. I tried to cover as much as I possibly could. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love doing these videos for you, and I will see you soon.